Hey, this is Jeff Jennings, also known as the Alta Rocker. You're listening to Dave's Gone By, a wonderful show on WGBB.
All right, shalom, damn it. Oh, boy, I love doing these interviews on this radio program. They are so much fun, and they give me so much nachas, especially around the time of the holidays, which this is, the Jewish holidays. And what better way to celebrate the holidays when with Jewish Freilach happy music. And with me on the Dave's Gone By program, I have a Freilach happy man with a not-so-Jewish name. We'll ask him about that. His name is Jeff Janning, Janning. He has this alter ego called the Alter Rocker. Get it? Alter Kaka, Alter Rocker. And we're going to talk to him right now. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Rabbi.
So is Janning your real name?
Well, it is, and my father changed it years ago. It used to be Janowitz.
No, I get it. So why did he figure Janning was more German sounding? He could get more jobs, damn it?
You know, it was just a family thing that he decided to change it. He never elaborated on why.
Well, what's your Hebrew name?
My Hebrew name is Hanek.
You're kidding me. Hanek?
Hanek.
Oh, wait, you got to spell this.
Good luck.
Hanek.
Hanek.
Who the hell are you named after?
I have no idea.
Hanek. Maybe I'll call you that. All right, Hanek. Tell me, and do you celebrate Hanukkah for your birthday? That's a very bad joke. I'm sorry. All right, first of all, tell people who you are. Who is this Alter Rocker? What the hell do you do, damn it?
Well, the Alter Rocker is it does funny Jewish rock and roll. And the Alter Rocker is sometimes a one-person band which is generated electronically, 3 guitars and 3-part harmonies and drums and
is that clarinet? Do you have clarinet in there?
No clarinet.
How can you do Jewish music without clarinet?
Well, it's not klezmer. You know, it's not klezmer. What can I tell you?
All right.
So it's it's like a whole band, and it's all done live. There's no tape, no nothing. It's all done live, and that's just for Jewish festivals and the bar mitzvahs and things like that. Some of the songs are serious, but a lot of the songs are, we've got serious songs for bar mitzvah and fun songs for bar mitzvah, but we have a lot of funny songs like Don't Ogly My Kugel and Don't Eat Pork and...
Don't Ogly My Kugel, Don't Eat Pork. Yes, now we're talking. This is good kind of songwriting here.
Yes.
Now you should explain to people that before you had this convergence, this harmonic convergence into the Jewishness, you were writing songs for real people, not just Jews. But
Jews are real people.
Barely. But Goyim-type people. We're talking like the Wayne Newtons of the world,
yeah.
And the Anthony Newleys and the Anthony Oldies. How did you become a songwriter to begin with?
Well, it's kind of I started out when I was 14. I copyrighted my first song when I was 14. I bought a guitar. I was coming home from school. A friend of mine said, "Join mein friend Dolef." Said, "You got to see this." He ran in the house. He comes out with a guitar. He plays a Peter Gunn, which was Henry Mancini.
No, how did that go? Oh, I know that's a good theme.
Oy vey, oy vey, oy vey, oy vey.
Sing with me now.
And Henry was actually from Cleveland, Ohio, which is where I'm originally from.
Oh, you have my sympathies. Okay.
Yes, the mistake on the lake. So he plays this guitar. He plays this song. I said, "Show me how to play that." He shows me how to play it. He says, "I'm selling it." So I bought the guitar and started playing guitar. And then my major thing was I loved songs and I loved productions. The sound of the records.
Oh, like Phil Spector, another not-so-nice Jewish boy.
Oh, Phil, what a crazy person
what
he
can
is.
You do?
I got to know Phil. Phil was my idol. I learned to write. He's one of the people I studied with to learn how to write songs.
Wait a minute. All right, now we have to take a detour here. Now we have to veer off the road a little bit in the mitzvah tank and talk about Phil Spector here.
Yes.
How you knew him personally?
Well, when I first came out to California, they had a class called This Business of Music, and Phil Spector was the guest.
Wow!
And so, so I wound up.
Did he shoot anybody?
Not at this class, no.
Okay.
But he did I'll tell you I can tell you strange things. Anyway, so the bottom line was, I got up on stage and played a song that I wrote that was right out of his songbook, and Phil liked it, and it was like, oh boy, great moment. because he was my idol. Then I thought the class was poorly done. At the time, I was running RCA's music publishing with a couple other guys, and I said I can do a class like this, and lo and behold, this guy Dick Campbell opened up a Billboard magazine and it said looking for teacher for class. So I called. It was the same people. I wound up doing 2 classes. Phil Spector was my guest at the classes. When I brought Phil Spector up on the stage, he went, "Get off the stage! Nobody's on the same stage with Phil Spector."
Wow.
The lunacy came out. So long story short, every time they had a class and Phil Spector was part of the class, they'd invite me. So one day I came to the class late. I picked up a chair at the back. I walked to the front, put it down, sat down. I was wearing a Dali-esque Jewish star. Phil Spector walked up to me. He didn't like the fact that I did what I did, that I walked up in the front of class and sat down. He walks up, he flips the thing on my neck and says, "What's this?" And I said, "It's a microphone, Phil." And he freaked out a little bit because he was paranoid of microphones. And he brought, at that time they had the Save John and Yoko campaign because they were trying to get John Lennon out of the country for smoking marijuana. And he had baskets of buttons and boxes of pictures that were like giveaways. And people would say, "Can I have a button?" "No." And then after it was all over, all the press stayed, which I was part of the press corps. And we went down to Cantor's, which was the Jewish deli in Hollywood. And on the way, his entourage part of his entourage was Kitty Bruce, Grandpa Munster was another one. And on the way to the
group,
there were he had 6 cars, and every stoplight he would jump out of one car and jump into another car. He was just a crazy guy.
Did he seem dangerous at that point?
No, but the stories were that he carried a gun. He had a great big guy who was black belt in karate who was with him all the time.
Well, I do. I have that too. I get so many death threats I can't tell you. Most of them deserved, in fact.
Phil if you were taping him, he would take your tape recorder away, and if you wouldn't give him the tape, he'd take it and smash it on the floor. And stuff like that. He was just a crazy person, and we wound up in the studio one time at A&M Records in the recording studio, and while he held court and did all this crazy stuff, he used to turn the temperature in the studios down to 62, and he'd have 40 background singers sitting in there freezing to death while he did the Phil Spector show. So he was a really a character, and supposedly the relationship between he and John Lennon ended when he pulled a gun on Lennon.
I remember hearing that, yeah. That's why everybody's pretty sure that he did what he certainly did with that woman in the driveway and all that.
Yeah, he was very, very, very strange. And after experiencing all that, I always wanted to work with him all my life. And then after experiencing that, I said, this man is not somebody to work with.
And I'll bet he isn't, since you're in Hollywood and have been for so many years, he's probably not even the weirdest person that you've encountered in the business, am I right?
He's probably close. He also used to lock people up in his house. Joey Ramone was one of the people. He came over to Phil Spector's house, and Phil Spector would lock them in and wouldn't let them go till 2-3 days later when he was tired of doing his show for them.
I do that, but they call it minion. Well, anyway.
Well, that's how you keep them after Yisker.
But now we can turn back onto the road and get back to your story of how you went. Well, how did you even start doing the things for RCA and all that?
Well, I came when I was in Cleveland. I was writing songs, and I was taking the songs, getting on a train, and going to New York to shop the songs. And eventually, I said I'm going to go to California and do the same. And I went to California. I took a 6-month leave of absence from my job. I was working for the Erie-Lackawanna Railroad. And I left that, and I went to California and started hawking songs. There was going around from publisher to publisher with songs I wrote.
Oh, my God, you're like Wild Man Fisher, for God's sakes.
Yes. And so the bottom line was the one person saw me so many times. Every time I'd be walking out of an office, he'd be walking in, or vice versa. And he was working for a publisher, and he was getting had gotten himself a better publishing job. And he said, I see you all the time. I see you taking care of business. He says, why don't you take this job over when I leave it? So that was my first. So I entered into the music publishing at that point. And because when you're hawking songs, you're hawking songs. Only this way you're working for somebody who's paying you to take their songs around.
Right, yeah.
And then that ended, and then, but in the process, I got to know a couple other people. And this person, Dick Campbell, who at one time played with the Guess Who.
All right, who? I don't have time to guess. Who? Was it the Rolling Stones, maybe?
No, it was Randy Bachman, who was later part of the BTO.
BTO.
As opposed to the BTL.
That's all. Right. Bachman, Turner, Overdraft. Something like
Bachman,
that.
Turner, Underwear.
Underwear, there we go. So, oh my God, that's interesting, all these famous or semi-famous people here. So you ended up being in the music industry, but still songwriting. Am I right?
Well, I was. The way they worked it was they didn't want to pay you a lot of money, so they signed you to a writer's contract and paid you on that. So I was running songs to other people and writing songs as well for the company, for RCA. And this is a lesson to be learned. The strange part was I got 14 songs recorded in 6 months, and because of that, I couldn't get another job. Because nobody wanted anybody that aggressive underneath them. The only thing they saw was you were going to take their job. Eventually, I wound up with working for Playboy's Music Publishing. And that was about the time Sammy Davis had a hit with Candyman.
Oh, right.
Because it came out of the Leslie Brickus catalog, which Playboy had at the time.
Did you know Sammy Davis Jr. was Jewish?
Yes.
Oh, you knew that? Oh,
yes.
I thought it was a secret. Okay.
Yes, he was a good Jewish boy.
He was a good one-eyed Jew. He was, yeah.
So the wind-up was I met a guy named Mark Wirtz, I should say. And Mark Wirtz was a German kid who moved to England when he was very young, and he was kind of a star in England. And supposedly he had done some of the arrangements for the Beatles' Magical Mystery Tour. I pestered the life out of him, and we started writing together. And from that, we wrote songs like Royal Affair, which was later recorded by Engelbert Humperdinck. And the reason it was recorded by Engelbert was I wrote a column for a music magazine called Music Connection. And it was a recording studio column. And I would call up and say who's recording and write it up in the column. And it turned out Engelbert Humperdinck was recording. And the song was originally recorded by Anthony Newley. And one time I was playing it for somebody and they went, that sounds just like Humperdinck. So here the opportunity came up. I knew where Humperdinck was, what studio he was in. I went down to the studio. He was just finishing up. I gave him the song.
And a pair of your panties, in fact. You have to do that with Engelbert. You can't. Everything comes with panties.
But you have to know they were clean.
I'll take your word for it.
I just washed them. I don't do the dirty ones. Anyway, so he was the good fortune was he was just leaving for the airport to fly to London. I can only assume he was bored to tears on the plane and played it over and over and over. A couple weeks later, I came home and my answering machine was a message that went, "Please call Engelbert Humperdinck." And when I called, they asked the status of the song, and he went in and recorded it.
So you had this level of success in the business. By the way, I am talking with Jeff Janning, the alter rocker, author of such songs as Don't Eat Pork, Don't Ogly My Kugel, it's like 10 Commandments here, do this, don't do that, Moshiach will be coming, My Child is Now a Man, all these wonderful tunes by Jeff Janning on the Dave's Gone By program. I'm Rabbi Sol Solomon interviewing him, and we're moving now from him being a quote-unquote regular songwriter to a songwriter of Jewishness. So how did that transition occur?
Well, at one point I decided I was a single person for many years in my life, and I decided I needed to change my life. I met a wonderful woman. We got married. She was going to shul. I started going to shul. We became full-time members, and one day they were honoring one of the biggest machers in the synagogue. I didn't know his status at the time, and I wrote a funny song about him and his wife, and it turned out it was his birthday and their anniversary. I figured 60 people would show up. 300 people showed up. I looked around the room. I thought they're going to. At the time I had long hair, I said they're going to think I'm just a long-haired hippie. I got up, played the song, and the audience, I had a standing ovation for 5 minutes.
Wow.
At that point, my ego said, these people love me. It was, in retrospect, it was probably that they really loved
him, the guy you were singing about.
Yeah, much more than I. But I thought, I found my audience, and I had been thinking about doing some sort of a specialty market album, and I said, this is my specialty market. At the time, I didn't really know there was as much Jewish music as there is out there. I thought maybe there were 20, 30 artists.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Yeah, well, who knew? I really didn't know.
Who knew?
Who knew? I didn't have a clue. Hey. So I wound up. I went in the studio and I spent a small fortune producing a record that was as good as what Columbia was putting out, and that was the first album. It's called American Jew. It's a picture of the cover is an American flag with Jewish stars on it.
And was that a serious album or more of a novelty?
No, it was a serious album. It's done in what they call progressive rock. It's got tons of instruments on it, a lot going on. It's a wonderful album. People play it to relieve the boredom of road rage, to relax.
It's like Emerson, Lake and Passover kind of a thing.
Yeah, Emerson, Lake and Passover. And that was the first CD. Then I went out on tour with it and was stupid. I had an acoustical guitar. I was trying to do progressive rock, which was like at any given time on the record, there were probably 10 instruments playing.
And you were doing a solo acoustic act?
Yeah.
You're Jewish. All right, yeah.
But I had one funny song that wasn't on the CD called Don't Ogly My Kugel. Everywhere I went, if I played there before, it was like, play the Kugel song, play the Kugel song. Hi, this is Jeff Janning, the Alta Rocker. You're listening to Dave's Gone By on WGBB. I decided that to separate myself from the other Jewish recording artists by writing very funny stuff and doing it, like early rock and roll. And in a way, it's like the current, and I incorporate small amounts of Yiddish because the people today, Jewish people, don't know much Yiddish, but the little tiny bits they know. And it's kind of like the same kind of things you see, the little quips you hear on Will and Grace, or that you heard on The Nanny or on Seinfeld, where they throw out a Yiddish word and do a bit around it.
Oh,
so
10 times a day I call someone a schmuck.
Yeah.
They know what I'm talking about.
Well, that's not a word I could use.
Oh, all right.
Because there's
Putz, maybe?
Schmeckel. So anyway, so the songs wound up, so I started writing funny songs. And I guess some people have compared me to Mickey Katz, because I write songs in the musical vernacular of this era, and they're funny with Yiddish in them, but it's a small amount of Yiddish, where in his day they spoke a lot of Yiddish, and so the funny songs people like it. The Chabadniks like it a lot.
Now you were on the telethon, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
Oh, what did you do? I didn't catch you. I don't know how late you were on there, but I watched that every single year. What was it like being behind the scenes at Chabad 2005?
Well, it's pretty intense situation. You've got all these people coming in and out. You've got all the people taking the phones. If you saw me, I was the only person there wearing a cowboy hat, and at one point, I guess I was dancing with a tap dancer they had on a lot.
That's right. The men can't dance with the women on there because it's got to be men and men, which is not my favorite thing. But what can you do? Did you perform, or were you just answering telephones?
No, I was just answering phones.
So tell me, what is Rabbi Kunin really like?
He's a very intense individual.
Even off the camera.
Oh yes, he's pretty much, he's very genuine. What he is on TV, what you see is what he is. He's a very intense individual and very focused.
How about that Weintraub? Admit it, he's a jerk, right?
I haven't met him.
Oh, okay.
I've met, I know several of the rabbi's sons because I performed at their Chabad.
Oh, okay.
And they're, very, very, they're nice people. I don't know how the Chabad rabbis are in other parts of the country, but I have to say the rabbis here are very, very, very well educated, have a great sense of humor. Some of them speak multiple languages.
Huh.
I've found them to be very, very nice people.
Well, what can I do? I was looking for dirt, and you gave me sugar. That's a very nice thing sometimes, But here's, give me a little more of the schmutz here. Do you ever get complaints, now that you're doing some humorous, comical Jewish music? Do you get complaints from people of like, oh, it's not appropriate, oh, it's like Jackie Mason too Jewish, oh, you shouldn't make fun because they'll make fun of us?
The strangest comment I ever got was somebody who belonged to our temple, Burbank Temple Emmanuel, and she said, I don't like these songs. You're telling me what to do. I shouldn't eat pork. I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't do that. I said, they're comedy. They're comedy.
Oh, boy. Some people
sometimes, and you do get, we're just too good for that kind of music. It's like anything else. I don't care what you do in this world. Some people are going to love it, and some people are going to hate it. Some people are going to tell you you can sing like a bird, and other people will say you call that singing.
When I sing, they say, oh, you call that singing. There's no bird involved. Maybe an ostrich, because they tell me I should stick my head in the sand so nobody can hear me. But, have you ever, or are you thinking also about writing songs, Jewish songs, about controversial kinds of issues, like maybe the Palestinian question? You might write something fair and balanced, like kill those falafel-eating schmata heads, which, by the way, Clay Aiken recorded as a B-side, I believe. But, but what about that? What about issues that go into a little bit of the dark side or the controversial stuff?
Well, I haven't done that. I used to write controversial stuff, but the problem was that's even harder to deal with than other things. And you always have people who want to keep it bland and mild and don't want to offend anybody, and that's kind of a big Jewish thing, quite frankly, because Jewish people are, even though we're a minority, somehow we're not on that minority list. We're never considered a minority.
Not when we're applying for college tuition, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, and that's because we don't go around protesting that we are a minority and getting in everybody's face. The attitude is, hey, leave it alone, don't bother with it. It's like we sustain ourselves. They don't want controversy. If you get controversial, it's frowned on.
Well, the famous old Jewish, probably my favorite joke in the whole wide world of the two Jews in Auschwitz.
No.
I remember them. They're in Auschwitz and they're naked and they're being marched to an open pit by these soldiers with guns trained on them. And finally, as they're staring into this pit, one of the Jews turns to the Nazis and he says, "You bastards, you filthy sons of bitches. God will get you, you will rot in hell, you will roast in Gehenna for eternity for what you're doing to these people." And then the other Jew turns to him and says, "Morty, don't cause trouble." That is the ultimate Jewish joke. I love that joke. I tell it every day. I tell it to people who've heard it 20 times. They hear it at 21st, whether they like it or not. Damn it. I'm a rabbi. I have such privileges.
Yes.
But anyway, a little more just reminding people that Jeff Janning has two albums. He's got American Jew, and he's got, what is the other one called?
Don't Eat Pork, darling. Don't Eat Pork
is the name of the album, and there's also this song on the album called Don't Eat Pork. Also, Bupkis Blues is on there. Don't Ogly My Kugel. Here's to Bubby and Zeta. That sounds like a very nice one. The Hashem Blues. Are there any recent songs that you've been working on that aren't on the CD there?
Time for a nosh.
Time for a nosh. Can you sing a little bit or play a little bit?
East Coast delis sure are great with the sauerkraut Reubens piled high. Their egg cream is keen tasty with matzah brie, matzah ball soup or chicken noodle, just like Bubby used to make. Strawberry shortcake, chocolate milkshakes, more than I can take. And it's time for a nosh, nosh. Just look at your watch, you'll see it's time for a nosh. I like delis in the Midwest with corn-fed beef bratwurst. Steamed so long they're big and plump and just about to burst. Potato latkes on the side with a smear of applesauce. Tastes great, can't wait to get my plate. Waitress, don't get lost, because it's time for a nosh. Nosh. Just look at your watch, you'll see it's time for a nosh.
Wow, that was marvelous. It makes me hungry, but that was so delightful. Oh, what a great way to go out with Jeff Channing, the Alta Rocker. And if people want to know more about what you do and who you are and how to get your music, how do they do this?
The easiest way is to go up on the web and type in Jeff Janning on any search engine. It'll come up 80 million times.
And I think also on your website you can hear bits and pieces, too, on
yes, on my
jeffjanning.com.
Yes.
Good. JeffJanging.com, and Jeff Janging, the real Jeff Janging, talking to us on Dave's Gone By. I want to wish you, first of all, thank you so much for being on the program. I want to wish you a most happy and wonderful holiday season. And remember that Jeff Janging, his songs have been called Hotter Than Horseradish on a Passover Plate. So you have filled us with nachas by being here on the program. Jeff, any final words to American Jewry out there listening to us now?
Well, I thank you, Rabbi Sol Solomon. You're just a wonderful person. This has been a wonderful opportunity for me. Sei gesund. You should have a great, happy New Year.